The NBA world is chasing the New York Knicks. How do the Orlando Magic catch them? We finished our conversation today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is August 11th, 2026. My name is Phil Prosper-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we will talk a little bit about what to expect from the schedule when it comes out on Thursday. We'll do more schedule talk on our next episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, we'll break down the whole schedule on Thursday. But today we're going to finish our conversation with Gavin Schall of Locked On Knicks. If you listened to yesterday's episode, he kind of posited his questions as the Orlando Magic as the forgotten contender, as a team that time sort of forgot, or that the league has sort of forgotten all of its potential because of the way that they played last season. So I broke down what went wrong last season and what's at stake this season. Today, we're going to finish that conversation. We'll talk about whether the Magic can actually function, whether they actually can work, and what the Magic have to do to take that important next step. So let's dive right in with Gavin Schall.
Yeah, I think it's hard, right? Because there's two formulas. There's like, do you have like a generational like game bending force? And I think of Victor Wembanyama, I think of Nikola Jokic. I would personally put SGA a tier below that. I might even have Luka in like his own second tier, and SGA is in like a 2B tier. And I honestly think Jalen Brunson's like in that 2B tier where like he bends the game offensively and he bends playoff games late offensively, but not quite to the same extent Jokic and Luka do over 48 minutes, and defensively, obviously not in the same universe. Even feels like understating it compared to Victor Wembanyama. And it's like, all right, if you don't have that like true game bending force, and I would probably, if I was doing a player ranking, have Jalen Brunson as like the 5th best player in the NBA. If you really wanted to like show me the numbers, show me the spreadsheets, and say like, actually no, he benefits from like how insanely good his supporting cast are. He's more like the 9th best player in the NBA. You could this is blasphemous, but you could talk me into that. I would have him higher personally, but I say that to say like, all right, if your best player tops out is like, I don't know, we'll go in the middle, right? 7th best player in the NBA, which I think right now, you maybe disagree. I don't think you do. I probably have as the ceiling for Franz or Paolo next year, right? Like best case scenario. Like they make a jump. Honestly,
best case scenario, they're like second team All NBA.
Sure, but you threw out the name Cade Cunningham, right? Like something like I like as high as I'm on Franz, like him, he's someone I think can be a top 5 player, and I don't know if I believe that about Franz or Paolo, but I say that to say like, how good does the rest of the supporting cast have to be for the Knicks? I would have Cat probably higher than I would have Cat as like the 13th best player in the NBA, 12th best player in the NBA, because I think he emerges like legitimately like borderline dominant defensive force in the playoffs, which even after that run, I don't know if the average fan thinks that about him, but from what I saw, from my perspective, I would put him near that category. I have OG Anunoby as like pretty much a top 15 player in the NBA. I saw someone put a poll out on Twitter, like, do you think OG Anunoby or Jaylen Brown's better? I think OG Anunoby's way better than Jaylen Brown. I think you win, like Jaylen Brown is a better option if you have the Celtics build last year and you just say, we just need someone to get you 30 points. And I don't want to frame that in a way to understate what he accomplished. I think is the final piece of a championship team. I'm taking OG Anunoby 10 times out of 10. So that's like, all right, if your best player tops out at 7, you need 2 other guys who are top 15, top 20. Your 4th and 5th best players, in the Knicks case, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, have to be top 50 guys in the NBA. You should have one bench piece. For the Knicks last year, it was like Mitchell Robinson and Deuce McBride, who were also top 100 players. Landry Shamet in the playoffs.
Clarkson gave them great minutes in the playoffs.
Clarkson was good. I think Shamet played like, I mean, he had over 2 rounds. He shot like
Shamet couldn't miss.
14 of 18 from 3 or something. Like you, and then you need like Jose Alvarado, who like no one would consider a top 100 player, but down the stretch of the greatest comeback in finals history, you don't win it if he's not on the floor. And if you're Orlando, like, that is like, and this isn't me like saying like, oh, the Knicks are so great. It is me saying like, I wasn't sure about any of that stuff.
You can say that they won the championship last
year.
Sure.
Okay. I can say that. And I believe that, but I want to be clear. It's not me saying like Magic fans give up hope. It's me saying like, I wasn't sure about any of those things coming into the season. I think I knew Jalen Brunson was an epic talent late in games, but we still like
You,
at
you
the
don't.
final level, right? The like against the defense like the Spurs, we hadn't seen that just because he hadn't been there. OG had to show he could stay healthy for that long. He did that. Cat had to show it defensively. He did. McHale had to show he wouldn't wilt in the biggest moments, and there were times where he did, but by and large, he was second and third round. He was incredible. Finals, he did enough. Josh had to show teams would guard him, and I think it was stupid, but a lot of teams did it enough to make that lineup work that otherwise wouldn't work. And I guess you can, maybe I'm giving you an episode idea here, like for Orlando, like how many of those boxes can they check? Because I think if you told me Orlando was the one seed, I don't think that's crazy. I think there's 8 teams that could be the one seed in the East that I'd be like, I'm surprised. I'm not shocked. Like, I think that is totally plausible just to get to that playoff ceiling. Right now, I would cap their ceiling, I think, making the conference finals in my mind. And for them to get above that, you need some of those leaps to happen, whether that's Paolo and Franz, or it's like, okay, Desmond Bane is top 20 now, or Jalen Suggs is top 30 now.
Yeah. And like, look, you don't know you can do any of this stuff till you do it. Like that's the thing. The Knicks had all those doubts until they did it, until they got to the finals, until they won that first finals game. It was just like, oh, like New York's kind of got this. Like they kind of, there's something different about them. And look, I'm not gonna, like, I agree with you. I see no reason why the Magic couldn't have the same season the Pistons had last year. Like the Pistons. The Pistons were the 6th seed. I was down on them. I thought they losing Tim Hardaway Jr., losing Malik Beasley was going to kill their shooting. And it was just like they're taking a step back. You know, like the Magic needed to have a summer like they had before they made that playoff break. But it was like they're taking a step back this year. They got to reconfigure some things. And what do you know? They go on that big win streak at the beginning of the season, and they're the 1 seed. They're suddenly playing with a lot of confidence. And you know, I'm not going to sit here and say the Magic are going to be the 1 seed. It would not shock me if they're fighting for the 3 or the 4 seed. It would not shock, you know, like my baseline for them is they're going to be the 6 seed. Like, I think that's very, very realistic. It's just as realistic to me that they're the 7 or the 8 seed again.
Sure.
And to your point, like the Eastern Conference is so good this year. Like we have not seen the East this good since at least the 90s. And it's probably, you know, a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
Because there are 8 or 9 teams that think they can win a playoff series. Like the Magic being the 8 seed last year and pushing Detroit, I don't think that's going to be abnormal next year. Like you're going to look at the 8 seed next year and be like, how is Boston the 8 seed? Like how is Indiana the 6 or the 7? Or how is, you know, Atlanta, you know, catches lightning in a bottle and they're the 2 seed somehow. They're the 2 seed somehow, but they're vulnerable as a 7 seed because they don't have the star like everyone else does.
Sure.
That's going to be the Eastern Conference. And so like the Magic, I think, have the top end talent. And again, like to be a great team, you do have to have great players. Like the Knicks do not work if Jalen Brunson is 2nd round pick Jalen Brunson and not like super duper star Jalen Brunson. And obviously he's not 2nd round Jalen Brunson. He's super duper star Jalen Brunson. To be a, you know, it's a chicken or an egg problem.
Yeah.
Is a team great because they have great players, or do great players make the team? And the answer is yes. If the Magic are going to be the team that they want to be, Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner have to be all-stars, have to be all NBA level players. That is how they are constructed. They're not Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't need, you know, Jalen Johnson needs to be an all-star, but Jalen Johnson being an all-star is not that he doesn't deserve it because his stats certainly merit it, but he's an all-star because that team is good. Because all the pieces fit together. And maybe that is the way to build teams now. I don't know. We're kind of,
I think it's both. I think it's both. I think you need the synergy and you need the high-end talent.
Exactly. And so like I feel like I've done so many episodes breaking down Paolo because like Paolo is kind of a lightning rod around the league, and Franz was hurt. And if Franz is healthy, you know, we'd have more data to say like, okay, this is where he's at. But you know, before his injury, he was like, oh, he's doing Franz things again, and the Magic are really good with him. Like the difference between the Magic being just a play-in ringer team and them being a serious threat in the Eastern Conference is Paolo Banchero being a top 10 player in the league, or, you know, top 12 player in the league, someone that is for sure an all NBA player, and someone that other teams are like, we got to throw doubles and triple teams at him because he's just making shots over our head. If we're just sticking our 6'9" small forward on him, or 6'8" small forward on him. Let's take a quick break from our conversation to tell you a quick word from our friends over at Odoo. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. In the summer, it's all about building your best roster. You're looking to add the right pieces to make everything work smoother, whether it's hiring a new coach, whether it's adding those new players. The summer is all about trying to optimize your roster and put in the best position to win the championship. That's what every team in the NBA is doing, and that's what Odoo can do for you. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's Odoo, ODOO.com/lockedon.
I want to pass you the proverbial mic. I say that 36 minutes into this episode. We got about 15 minutes before I have to run. But do you have any quick questions about the Knicks, and then maybe we can make some final predictions for these teams this year?
Yeah. Just what's the? I mean, I think the best place to start is what's the vibe about going for a repeat? How obviously you win a championship, you're content. We're in this age of parity where nobody repeats anymore. The Knicks are now the favorite to be the 1 seed in the East. What do the Knicks have to do to repeat? Obviously Mitchell Robinson's gone now. Are you worried about probable more stuff? What has to happen for them to repeat?
Yeah, so I think that was the frustration for me and my co-host XJ in terms of them letting Mitch go, just because it seemed like it was a James Dolan driven decision versus a Leon Rose driven decision. I'm at a point if Leon Rose says, "Hey, go drive your car off that cliff," I'm saluting him and saying, "Yes, sir," and I'm assuming he has my best interests at heart as a Knicks fan, and it's gonna go well for me. But because that was a James Dolan decision, it's hard to sit with in the sense that unlike you say Franz and Paolo 25 and 24, the Knicks are smack dab in the middle of their prime. And last year, I said it over and over and over again, given the Jason Tatum injury, the Tyrese Halliburton injury, honestly, what happened to the Magic as well. I was this is your last best chance to win it. And every year going forward, and they did it. So that takes the monkey off your back, that takes the pressure off. Amazing, incredible. No matter what happens this year, they could never make the playoffs again in my life, and I'll die saying I saw a Knicks championship. So that's incredible. But I'm greedy, man. I want another one, and I still think it's plausible for them to win another one. And I think there were real reasons, to your point, to stay out of the second apron. But I kind of wish they brought the full crew back together, because they're undeniably a worse team today than they were at the start or at the end of last season when they won a championship. Mitchell Robinson, for all the frustration, for as big of an injury risk as he is, for as much as the hack-a-Mitch in the playoffs, limited and put a ceiling on his impact relative to what he even did the previous postseason. The guy is just an absolute game changer. And to have your second guy off the bench, or at times first guy off the bench, just be able to completely tilt games with the talent they already have was just an incredible luxury. But it's a luxury you need. You need that margin for error to get through the Eastern Conference. Me and Coop Cahill, when we did the Pistons crossover, just had this conversation where he was all right, who's the biggest threat to you guys in the East? And I was look, I think Boston is probably the team on paper that, despite the trade, scares me the most. And yet, it is really the depth is the boogeyman of the East, right? The Knicks could have 3 series in a row where they have somewhere between a 75% chance and a 55% chance to win the series. Math says you're not likely to win those 3 series back to back to back. There's no team that I wouldn't have them a solid favorite over. But losing Mitch, losing a little bit of that cushion, losing a little bit of that margin for error, I think it's going to be tough. And I went back. I haven't put out the episode yet. It's probably going to come out on either Monday or Tuesday next week. And just looked at the last 7 teams that failed to repeat and why it happened. And I think the bulk of them, it was some combination of injuries, and just not you look at the Raptors and obviously, they didn't bring Kawhi Leonard back. And that was an easy X off. And then the Knicks, I think, will have to be I hope they learn from that and they approach the regular season with just an immense amount of caution, because I think if you push early, those injuries are going to come anyways. And I'd rather strategically make the choice. Hey, Jalen Brunson's not playing back-to-backs the first month of the season. OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns aren't playing back-to-backs. And if that leaves the Knicks as the 9th seed going into like December, I'm like, that's fine. I think we can turn it on. I think we can figure it out as long as they're out of the play-in. Like, obviously, home court is ideal, but I don't think it matters all that much for this Knicks team. But to your point, you might have a tougher matchup as the 1 seed than you do as the 6 seed, like playing on the road. Like, that is just the reality of the Eastern Conference. You have no idea what the injuries are going to be at the end of the year. So I would take a very, very cautious approach for that reason if I was the New York Knicks. But then the other reasons, like, it's a little harder to pin down, like, why didn't the Celtics win? Why didn't the Thunder win? I mean, the easiest thing to say is just injuries in the playoffs, like Kristaps Porzingis for Boston getting hurt 2 years ago. I think they probably beat the Knicks if KP's fully healthy. As amazing as the Knicks were in that series, they just didn't really have an answer for him. And then I think the Thunder probably beat the Spurs if Jalen Williams is healthy, or even if AJ Mitchell's healthy. So it really is just staying healthy. And there's only, with the load they put on their bodies last year, it was less than some teams, right? Because it only took them, 19 games to do it, which is great. And a lot of blowouts in there, not a ton of minutes. So maybe they're a little more well rested, but it's been year after year now, Philip, of like long playoff runs for this team. That's a first world problem, but like, how do you manage that over the course of the year? And so far, like, the way the game is played and the strain it puts on these guys' bodies, like we talked about in regards to the Magic injuries, it's so hard to do it twice.
Yeah, and obviously it hasn't been done twice now in 8 years? 8 years
since the Warriors. Yeah, and that was a different NBA and a team that, because of the CBA rules, could be stacked in a way that I guess Oklahoma City and San Antonio might still be over the next couple of years, but you have to get it through the draft. And if
but like, look, Knicks, we all thought the Thunder were starting a dynasty after last season, and like, look, they had a lot of injuries, like Jalen Williams.
My point is, like,
Williams
it took
a lot more
3 injuries to knock them out, and I think for the Knicks, if Cat gets hurt or just gets in foul trouble at the wrong times, OG gets hurt, like, the Knicks could lose in the first round next year. I don't think they would, but they could. Like, Andre Drummond is the center position right now.
Yeah. The other question that I had, and you kind of touched on, like, just the length of it, but like, I'm a big believer that championships are about the journey. You know, like it's the journey to the destination, and you know, that journey is usually a multi-year journey. There's usually a lot of moments of doubt. How much did the journey of this group lead to that championship in your opinion? Just like, you know, losing to the Pacers 2 years in a row, like just finally getting that breakthrough, like, because I'm sure there were moments where it's like, we need to break some of these pieces apart. And, you know, Jalen Brunson can't, you know, it's too small to get us to a championship. Like, what was it about the journey that made that championship?
Yeah, it's a great question. Probably something I should have done a full episode on at some point. I don't know. Like, coming into last year, like, I think I've always been a big believer in the roster. For me, it was just, I didn't think, and we've talked about it, I didn't think Tom Thibodeau was the right answer at head coach. And that was, despite a lot of Knicks fans claiming otherwise, that I think proved to be true based on what happened when they got Mike Brown, who I wouldn't even say is necessarily a top 5 coach in the NBA, but what he is an incredible collaborator who's willing to take ideas from everyone, from the front office, from his assistants. And I think after, like, throughout the regular season, playing like somewhat conservatively in terms of how much they experimented and how much they pushed the limits of going away from the starting lineup, I think he found absolutely the right formula in the playoffs. And to his credit, and against mine, like, where I can't say I told you so, is I fundamentally did not think the starting lineup could work against the best teams in the NBA. It was the same conversation I had over and over and over again when I did these previews with you and these previews with other people throughout last summer. And it worked. And I think some of that was that teams were just, and this is something I've talked about a lot on this show, like, psychologically unwilling to stomach Josh Hart shooting 10 threes in a game. And I think if teams had an appetite to live with, like, there's going to be quarters where he makes 4 out of 5, and if you can ride that wave and live with it, I think the Knicks would be a lot more beatable, and I think would be forced out of their starting lineup. But I'll quote my guy XJ: if you treat Josh Hart like a shooter, you're probably just not going to beat the Knicks. And maybe the Thunder and the Spurs and maybe the team like the Celtics could possibly figure it out. But I generally am a believer in that. And through like that was the journey for Mike Brown. Then he said, like, I'm not going to blink. I'm going to wait for the other coach to blink. And you look at, like, that game 1 against Cleveland where they were down by 21 points. You look at some of the stretches against the Spurs where the Spurs went up by 10 points in literally every single first quarter of the NBA Finals. And Mike Brown never really blinked. There were times where he strategically pivoted, like against the Cavs in game 1. He pivoted to Landry Shamet, and the Knicks went on a 44-8 run because they were like, all right, you keep playing that same defense. Landry Shamet's going to hit corner threes, or Jalen Brunson's going to go volcanic. But it was a combination, I think, of the right coach and like having all these guys. And this is, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but in regards to the Magic, like this would be the single biggest lesson I would take away from the Magic. It would be the single biggest lesson I could take away from the Spurs. Like sometimes you have to wait until guys are at like that perfect apex of still having that like near peak athletic ability and just having the game IQ and grit and emotional maturity to survive tough situations. Because you said it before, that is exactly what separated this Knicks team. And I don't think a younger version of Cat that might have even been more explosive athletically, like I don't think he had the maturity to commit to defense. And like even though like what got so hyped up with Cat was that they started running offense through him, like that mostly went away in the finals. That honestly mostly went away in the conference finals. And what lingered for Cat was like, oh my God, like Victor Wembanyama cannot score on him. And every time Mitchell Robinson comes in the game, Wemby's eyes light up and he turns the game around. But when Cat was out there, dude, like Cat was just beating him to spots. And he's like, I'm effing stronger than you, dude. You can try to shoot over me. You can crash for offensive rebounds. You can have rim runs, but one-on-one, you're not doing anything. And like 26-year-old Cat, Wemby's probably dropping 40 on him. Like OG Anunoby, like having the offensive like courage and bravery to stare Wemby in the eye and saying, yeah, I'm driving right on you and I'm dunking on you. And there's nothing you can do about it at this point in your career. Hit the weight room over the summer and figure it out. Like Mikal Bridges, like finding his shot in big moments. Josh Hart continuing to shoot when he would have started passing up shots. Jalen Brunson. I mean, it was a journey these last 4 years for him to be like, oh wait, I can do this in the first round. I can do this in the second round. I can do this in the third round. Oh, I can do this against the best defensive player of all time, maybe in Wemby. And it was really like a journey of these guys realizing their talents, but also being willing to like subvert their game. So the guys who needed to shine in appropriate minutes could shine. I know that was a long-winded answer, but like, I think it's such a good question because every single step was necessary to building the mental and physical fortitude that it took to get over that hump. And the great thing for them now is like, look, there's a world where like they like relent a little bit and don't work as hard this offseason. It comes back to bite them, or they get hurt and they don't get a chance to. But I think we've seen over the years, once you develop that championship grit, it's not that you can turn it on and off, but you do know you have that extra level you can hit and you get to approach the season that way.
Yeah. I mean, again, like there's a reason why we talk about experience.
Yeah.
And like, I agree with you. I think Cat knew how to beat Wemby to spots and push him off spots. And you could feel the Spurs youth. And I know during that series, I compared the Spurs a lot to like the 95 Magic, which is like which is like one of the ultimate stories of the champion, you know, that never question the heart of a champion. It pains both of us to talk about that Rockets team. Yeah. But it's like, it's the never question the heart of a champion argument that Rudy Tomjanovich made after the 95 finals is just like, it's one thing to get to that stage. It's another thing to be ready for that stage. And the Knicks were clearly like, even though they'd never been there before, clearly were ready for that stage.
Yeah. And I think Orlando has like some of those qualities, like the level of grit they bring. I mean, we see it in specific games where it's like, I mean, I said the same thing about the Pistons during the regular season where it's like, yeah, they hit a level of fervor that the Knicks at this point, at their old ages of like 28 to 31, just do not really have the appetite to hit. And for Orlando, for Detroit, the question is like, how do you translate that into a higher ceiling in the playoffs where everyone is hitting the level of intensity? And I'm a believer that the Magic like do have another level in there, and I'm curious to see how it goes. But you know what, man, this is something we'll get into over the regular season. This is something before that first game, I'm really excited to talk to you about how the two teams match up. I just wanted to give you a second to tell Knicks fans, I think they probably know at this point, but where they can find all your great work if they want to keep up with Orlando over the course of the offseason.
Yeah, obviously. And I wrote something about the Knicks and I had a Knicks fan jump in and it was like, we don't care about you. So I was like, no, you guys are the champs. We're all trying to chase you guys down. So it's a compliment that I'm talking about you guys.
There are jerks in every fan base.
Yeah, no, he wasn't a jerk. He was like, oh, respect.
Yeah, okay,
like,
cool.
It's like we're trying to be you guys. So we're trying to figure you out. But you can find my great work. I think it's great work. Maybe it isn't. You can find my work over at Locked On Magic. Obviously, subscribe wherever you download podcasts. My written work is over at orlandomagicdaily.com. talk about a lot of these issues, obviously a lot of big issues. Unfortunately, we all have to be accountants in the offseason. Cannot wait to stop being an accountant and worry about basketball, but that doesn't come for another 8 weeks. But you can find that at OrlandoMagicDaily.com and follow me on Twitter at PhilipR_OMD or on Blue Sky at PhilipR.
All right, same deal over here at Locked On Knicks. You can find us wherever you find Locked On Magic, and you follow along at Locked On Knicks on Twitter. But until next time, this has been Locked On Magic and Locked On Knicks, and we'll talk to you real soon.
I want to thank Gavin again for having me on Locked On Knicks. Hopefully that conversation, I know it's a lot of me talking. I know people don't always like to hear me talk when I'm in interviews, but I was a guest on his show and we're simulcasting it on our show. So I want to thank Gavin for having me on the show. Always great to chat with Gavin. Hopefully we will see him in the NBA Cup. Hopefully we'll see him in the Eastern Conference Finals. We're good buddies. We're friends. We like each other. And then obviously there's a lot of respect for the Magic there. But we are in a news window, a little bit of a news window, waking up here on Tuesday morning. The NBA has announced the opening week schedule for the national TV broadcasters, at least, as well as their Christmas schedule. And look, as expected, the Orlando Magic do not have any games on national TV in the first week of the season. That's not shocking. I am not surprised by this. I did not expect the Magic to be an opening day game. I fully expected the two of the 3 games we got. They gave us a bonus third game, which I'm really excited about. I love afternoon NBA basketball. So a 3:30 tip-off on a Tuesday afternoon to the NBA season for a triple header. Chef's kiss. Good job, NBA. We'll see if people show up in Boston. Or I think that game's in Boston. But the season will open up October 20th with the Pistons against the Celtics, followed by the Knicks hosting against the Sixers, followed by Spurs Thunder. Going to be a great, great opening day of basketball. Opening week includes the first Sixers home game against the Cavs. It includes the Heat hosting the Timberwolves, so the Magic will not open the season against the Miami Heat, thank goodness, as much as we love beating on the Heat. Would not shock me if Orlando, and we'll talk more about this a little bit tomorrow when we talk some schedule stuff, would not shock me if Orlando is either at like Atlanta or Charlotte to open the season, but very potentially likely that the Magic open at home and then play Minnesota in that second game of the season. So Minnesota is probably going to be a Friday night game. Let me double check that schedule's accurate. Yeah, because that keeps running. It would not shock me if Minnesota is a Friday night game in Orlando. So just something to think about. Everyone does the Florida double, and no one likes doing the Florida double anymore because the Magic are good. But obviously Orlando is not on the national scene anymore. Like it's nice to talk to the Knicks. I've talked to a lot of Knicks people and they've said, like, why are you so obsessed with the Knicks? And I'm like, well, you guys won the championship. We're trying to chase you down. And I think Magic Knicks, it's not a rivalry. Like, it's not the Pistons. If we're going to list Orlando Magic rivals right now, like the Heat are obviously very high on the list. They're the Heat. The Pistons are pretty high on the list. Like we played a pretty competitive playoff series. We've been growing at the same rate. The Magic probably view the Celtics as a measuring stick. Celtics probably don't think too much about Orlando. I know John Corrales likes Orlando, but the Knicks are a team that this group is certainly battled and had some big games against. NBA Cup game 2 years ago, NBA Cup game in Vegas last year. And they are indeed a team that has given New York a lot of problems. Obviously, Orlando is not in the national spotlight. They got 14 national TV games last year after the splashy move for Desmond Bane. I'm expecting that to drop to 10, 11, 12. I don't think the decrease in national TV games will be significant, but I do think they'll get fewer because other teams will get more. There are maximums that teams can have. I think Orlando is going to be like a favorite Peacock team. I think we'll see a lot of those Monday night games on Peacock, so make sure your subscription's up to date. The Magic are trying to get themselves in the national picture. And obviously, the only way you're going to do that is to win at the highest levels. Now, what I do love about the NBA's current national TV schedule, the current national TV arrangement, is because there are so many games on national TV now. because there are so many days where there are national TV games, it's really easy for the league to pivot and put different games on national TV when they need to. And they'll do it early in the season now. Yes, there are these marquee days and marquee games. The Magic are not at that level of interest. But if Orlando races out and gets to the 2 or the 3 seed, if Paolo Banchero is averaging 27, is the best version of Paolo Banchero, it's very, very possible that the Magic will quickly regain some footing on the national stage. And obviously the best way, there are 2 best ways to get national attention, is A, to win, and B, to win big games. So why spend 2 days talking about the Magic and the Knicks? Well, one, it's August. I'm trying to fill content, and I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel until the schedule comes out. Like, I'm not going to lie. I got stuff. But we still got 7 weeks to go before the start of the season. And we'll do more detailed player evaluations or player profiles and player previews after Labor Day. That's my game plan right now. As Labor Day is we're turning toward home. Let's talk real seriously about the season. I got a Desmond Bane stuff. I got Jalen Suggs stuff. I got Anthony Block stuff. I got stuff to talk about. Do not worry. We will fill this time, and I may take a day off here or there. What's important about doing this, though, is that this is how the Magic, A, get attention, B, get respect, and C, accomplish that impossible goal. This is how they take that next step. And the Magic have proven they can beat the Knicks. They went 2-2 against them last year. The 2 losses happened the game that Franz Wagner got hurt and the NBA Cup game when Franz Wagner didn't play. They went 1-3 against them the previous season, but I believe they were 2-1 against them the year before that. The Knicks are the measuring stick in the league right now, but the Knicks have always been a measuring stick for the Magic, at least the last 3 years. For the Magic to say, we can compete with the best teams in the league. We can go toe-to-toe with a team that is rising to be a champion, that is now a champion. This is the problem with being champions, New York. That target is squarely on your back. You are the standard for the league. And the Magic are a team that, frankly, matches up pretty well. That doesn't mean they're perfect. You know, the Magic have their own foibles and flaws, but the Magic's size, they're one of the few teams that are bigger than New York. And I think I mentioned it in the pod, in the conversation with Gavin Schall, but what makes the Magic unique are their 2 6'10" forwards. New York usually has that size advantage with OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges. But with Paolo and Franz, they make the Knicks have to make some decisions. Who guards Paolo? Who guards Franz? Because Josh Hart ain't big enough to guard the 2 of them, even if he is a good defender. This is why the Magic can contend. This is why there is a vision and a picture that allows the Magic to be that team. But they got to go out and do it. That's always been the thing. They got to go out and do it. They got to make good on all of this potential. And when that national TV schedule comes out Thursday, and we will break down the key games, the games are on TV, what they mean, what they say, how many games they have, say, we'll talk about all of that. Everyone's been waiting for this Magic team to take that next step. And now, the year that they were kind of gifted that attention, they fizzled. They failed. Like, we could say that last season was a failure. It's one of the at least 5 most disappointing seasons in Magic history. Put it up with 2004, put it up with 2011. It was bitterly disappointing. Like, I do know a lot of fans who got their hopes way up only to be disappointed like that. And I can't argue against them. I said, like, I can't help you there. Like, you're right. They didn't deliver. They promised a lot. They overpromised and they didn't deliver. It is the Magic have to fight for their attention again. They have to fight for their potential again. They have to make everybody believe that last season was the fluke. And until they do that, they're going to work anonymously. And games against the Knicks, games against the Celtics, games against the Spurs, the Thunder, the Pistons, games where they can make that statement are going to be that much more important. When the schedule comes out Thursday, we will note, here's when we play the Knicks. These are big games. I anticipate one of them will be on national TV. I anticipate one of the visits to Madison Square Garden will be on national TV. It's a good game. It's a good matchup. The NBA needs me to argue like I could go like these games have been fun. Jalen Brunson's had to do crazy things. Jalen Suggs bothers him. His size bothers him. But Brunson still gets his looks in. And the Magic, it's a competitive game. We'll talk. Here's when the Magic play the Pistons. I'm vengeful. That first game in Orlando against Detroit is going to be the most important game of the season. I am hoping that it is going to be an NBA Cup game on top of that. But early season, that game is going to be so important because it's just exercising some demons. We'll get into all that when the schedule comes out. But for now, the Magic are clearly fighting for attention. And we'll see if they end up getting it. More importantly, we'll see if they end up earning it. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun by Stand Alone podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub, or join our Everydayer Club at LockedOnMagic.supercast.com. As I've been noting, there are going to be some changes coming to both the Patreon and the Everydayer Club. Those will be coming shortly. I'll make some more announcements when those happen, but very excited about it. And hopefully I'll be able to serve everybody a little bit better. Part of the change will be adding my Patreon content to the Everydayer Club as well. So stay tuned, hang tight for that. And we'll see you very, very soon. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go make Locked On NBA your second listen because there is no offseason. Wes, Matt, and Hayes will keep you updated on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, all part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On our next episode of Locked On Magic, we will do some schedule preview. We'll talk a little bit more about what to expect when the schedule comes out on Thursday, maybe a late episode Wednesday. The schedule comes out Thursday at 3, so I may not do a Tuesday for Wednesday pod, but we'll see how that goes. I'm kind of on mornings right now. But we'll talk to you then. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Phil Prosper. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.